Hey guys, Youngblood with you for the 44th episode of the Inbox, and what we're doing today is going to be answering some more of your questions. Now, before I get to the first question, I did want to let you know, in case you're wondering why the flight and the background looks a little bit different, I recently just decided to try and really figure out how to do dual joysticks instead of my traditional HOTA setup that I had. So in my right hand, I've got the X52 Pro, and in my left hand, I've got the T1600M from Thrustmaster, and it's just going to give you a little bit of a different flavor of gameplay for me. Overall, I actually liked it. It was something I picked up really fast. If it's something I continue to enjoy, I'll share with you guys my key bindings and probably do a follow-up video on it after I spend a little bit more time with it. But right now, I'm trying to find the right balance of control and functionality and where I want all my key binds to be. So that's just what's going on in the background. But let's go ahead and start off with a question from Unable Pwn. It says, it seems to me that the Avenger is meant to take down pirates and other illicit activity, right? If so, do you think it needs a buff or rework with the introduction of the Buccaneer? Okay, so to get to this, I think you're talking about the fact that the Avenger is really a advocacy ship. It's really went with like bounty hunting in mind, and that's correct. I mean, that's kind of what the lore history of the ship is. It was, a military fighter. It's an advocacy fighter. It's also really a multi-role ship, though, especially with the introduction of the variants. You've got the Titan, which can do some cargo hauling. You've got the Stalker, which can actually do some bounty hunting. You've got the EMP version of it in the Warlock. The ship has a lot of value. It's why it's one of those ships that I'm constantly recommending to people. The introduction of the Buccaneer really spawned off of the fact that the Cutlass wasn't fulfilling what the initial role of the ship was supposed to be. So they split the role, providing us with the Buccaneer for the fast-fighting, agile type of ship, and the Cutlass is going to be reworked into just kind of a jack-of-all-trades ship that is supposed to still be a pretty good fighter. It's probably going to turn into like a kind of a pseudo-gunboat would be my guess with cargo and things. But the introduction of the Buccaneer doesn't necessarily change what the Avenger should be. The Avenger's in a pretty good place. I like the Avenger. There's some really good pilots in Avengers. Now, it's dropped a little bit, but honestly, I wouldn't make too many harsh judgments on anything right now until we see the new flight model that's coming with 2.6. So you're actually going to have a better idea of where that balance falls, because there's a lot of things that are supposed to change as far as ship speed, ship agility, ship performance, weapon range. All of those things are going to be in flux. I don't think the introduction of the Buccaneer alone is enough to say that the Avenger needs a buff. Overall, when you're talking about balancing ships, you need to factor in the ship's role, the ship's performance, the ship's price range, the ship's versatility. There's a lot of things that go into that. So the Buccaneer alone doesn't necessarily mean that the Avenger needs a buff. Not to mention, the Buccaneer is really more of a singularly purposed ship. It can't carry cargo. It's really more of a fighter, interceptor / interdictor. That's its purpose. So a fighter interdictor compared to a multi-role platform like the Avenger doesn't necessarily mean that you're comparing apples to apples. It's really apples and oranges. So with that in mind, no, I don't think that the two are tied together at all. Shadows A to B says, how do you think upkeep and repair of alien ships will be handled, like in cases where someone has bought or captured a scythe or a blade, or like a glaive, which is a reproduction of an alien ship? Will they be significantly harder to repair, refuel, maintain, etc.? Also, do you think we're going to have any sort of bank mechanics to store money or other assets we don't want to lose, or to leave securely to our next self in event of character death? So to your first question, I think, yes, rareness of ships is definitely going to have an impact on cost of repairs and time of replacement and time of repairs. It may be interesting, in today's world, there's cars out there that certain mechanics aren't comfortable working on, like a Tesla, for example, or another electric vehicle. There's going to be mechanics that aren't familiar with actually working on those. So, for example, if you've got a reproduction or a captured alien ship, there may be only certain places that are able to repair or fix or do those types of things to your ship, or it may come at a premium. It may cost you more to have those things done. Now, I would expect something like a glaive that's a reproduction by Asperia to be cheaper and faster, because that's a production ship. There is a line that's generating the products that you need to put into your ship. Now, if you've got a captured scythe where it's actually a Vanduul ship, somebody's going to have to probably custom build a component for your ship. I'm guessing that's probably going to be some lore reasoning behind things. But yeah, it's obviously going to take more if it's a rare ship, regardless. But if it's an alien ship, it's going to be even more complicated. As far as refuel, no, everything should be using the same fuel. As far as we know, there's only really going to be standard fuel, quantum fuel, and the quantum fuel kind of in turn is jump fuel as well. Now, there's probably going to be different standards in there, like maybe there's a racing fuel or something like that, but I'm not expecting the Vandal fuel to be different than like the human fuel. Also, do you think, so as far as the bank mechanics go, you're going to have a bank, and your funds are going to be in there. So, you know, if you're talking about like protecting it from piracy, well, the pirates aren't going to be able to get into your bank account by hacking you. Those funds are going to be fine, and they'll transfer to your next character at death. There may be a penalty, like a respawn like costs, like you have to pay your hospital bills or something like that, but it's not like you're going to be wiped clean and start over. But if you're talking about like parts or assets that you don't want to lose, as long as they're not destroyed and you have insurance, you're going to get them back even if it is your next character. Crewman number 6, enjoy the vids, was looking at my hanger on the website. Do you know anything about the Omni roll combat armor and where it fits into the battle armor lineup? I don't, but when I look at it and I say Omni roll, Omni typically means all. So to me, that sounds like a multi-purpose combat armor that's going to be able to be used in any situation. I don't know if this is, and correct me if I'm wrong, I probably should have researched this before actually answering it, so my apologies for the half-assed answer. If this is the hanger decoration, it's just a hanger decoration. If it's actually a wearable armor, then this is the one that you can probably use in just about any situation, which makes me think it's probably just another variant of like the medium armor. I'll try and do some more research and see what that actually is and put it in the comments. I'm obviously not going to stop recording this video right now to do it, so, but yeah, it's either hanger armor and you can't wear it, or it's actually a multi-purpose armor that's probably similar to a medium armor. Eli Plattner says, somebody tell me, should I buy a Freelancer MAX or wait for some other big ships that's interesting to come out? It really depends, and it's a hard question to answer without knowing what you want to do. The Freelancer MAX is one of my favorite cargo ships. It keeps things protected. It carries a lot of cargo without being, you know, a ton of cargo. You know, it's got 4 engines compared to 2. I think it's going to be pretty fast in a straight line. So I think the questions you need to answer are, do you want to be able to go through the smallest jump points, meaning you can get from point A to point B as fast as possible? If you don't care, if you're willing to make the extra jump, that makes a difference. Because with the Freelancer MAX being $140 and the Constellation Taurus being $150, you're talking about a $10 price difference there. And the difference in the amount of cargo that you can take is significant. The Freelancer should fit through the smallest jump points. The Constellation's going to need the medium jump points. So with that in mind, that makes a difference. I'm also expecting that the Freelancer MAX is going to be more fuel efficient. It's got a lower operating cost. You know, you can definitely fly it solo. You can fly a Constellation solo, but you've got more kind of jobs on a Constellation, so you probably want additional people. But the Freelancer is definitely soloable, meaning you've got lower operating costs. Now, there's other ships out there that are worth considering. You know, if you've got the Whole B carries right around the same amount as the MAX. I think it actually carries more than the MAX. I don't remember the numbers exactly. But the difference is that the Whole B is cheaper, but the Whole B is also going to have less armor. It's probably less secure. It's probably going to be very fuel efficient, but that's really only a ship that you're going to want to use in secured space. A Freelancer is going to be harder to scan the cargo inside because it's inside your shielded components and cargo, so like things rattling around, you know, you may not need to strap everything in. There's a lot of benefits to the Freelancer. I'm a huge fan of the Freelancer MAX. I think it's probably worth picking up, and if worst case scenario, another bigger ship that you've got interest in, you could always cross chassis later and get into that and have the Freelancer now to at least check out. Addis504 says, what about a Sentinel in your fleet? A good EWAR can turn the tide of a battle. I'll be flying one open for hire. Yeah, I think a Sentinel's a great addition to a fleet, as well as really just about any electronic warfare ship. I don't necessarily think an entire fleet of electronic warfare is a great plan, but if you've got somebody that can scramble signals or drop EMPs or shoot data spike missiles, you get a lot of extra versatility. And a lot of those ships are also going to be good scanning vessels, meaning that it almost serves as a forward operating scout as well. Sentinel also has some good weaponry on it. And, you know, has a long range. So as far as kind of being an escort as part of a fleet, I think it's a really smart option. I like the idea of having one in there. Doesn't matter if it's a Herald or a Sentinel or something else that's kitted out, you know, or even, you know, just a Warlock. But the difference is there that you can make is really strong. And if you start talking about things that are really interesting, you know, you could potentially fly in a Warlock ahead of a fleet, EMP, whatever ships are there, then have your fleet jump in after that and already have people disabled so you can start really going to work. That's really interesting. And if you've got 3 or 4 Warlocks that can time that at the same time before the big fleet arrives, you can have a pretty wide area of effect and have good results because of that. Joseph Allen says, are different professions going to have big noticeable enough earnings and difference? For example, can a trader earn a lot more money than the guy that he hired to protect his ship? Or the guy with the fighter ship can also sometimes earn a lot of money if he finds and accepts a bounty hunter mission. Those are just examples. So there is going to be a difference in earnings in the situation that you gave, or there probably should be. In that situation, the cargo hauler that's hiring somebody is the boss. You know, they're the mission coordinator. They're the ones that are putting their cost on the line. They've probably purchased the cargo that they're hauling. They've got more vested in it, so they should make more money. There's no way I would split my profits 50-50 with one person. If I had to put up, $30,000 and the mission's going to net me 60, I'm not going to give the other guy 30 because then I'm breaking even. So there's a lot of different factors that go into these types of conversations that are harder to equate. Now, there's different things that you need to consider too. Is that person that's escorting you is more likely to take damage and need more cost to repair their ships because they're protecting you from different things. So there's probably a sliding scale there somewhere as far as how you're going to pay people out. Now, in a more generic sense, I think they have goals of having different roles capable of earning about the same amount of money. So whether you're an explorer or a scientist or a trader, I think they want you to be able to earn about the same amount of money or have that same potential regardless of your profession. That doesn't mean it's going to play out like that. In a lot of games, traders and cargo and that sort of thing end up making the most money. It's probably just because it's most directly tied to the economy. Is mining going to be the same thing as cargo? I don't know. Mining's probably going to be more skill-based, so you might have a higher cap as far as what you can earn mining than you would cargo hauling, but it's probably going to be more consistent money if you're doing something in the cargo route. So the long story short is we don't really know, but theoretically we should have good earning potential regardless of what your career is. A Plum Pilot says, I've come back to Star Citizen after being away for a year, loving 2.4. My question is, how do you get more weapons for your ship? All I own is a cutlass and would like to deck it out with better, but how do I obtain new weapons? Do I have to buy more ships? Thanks. So there's a couple different ways you can get new weapons. The simplest and safest bet right now is to just play the game, earn rec, and rec is the rental currency. And then what you do is you actually go online and you rent it for a week. And different weapons have different costs. But what that does is it gives you time to actually play with the weapons and decide if they're things that you like. Now, additionally, and I'm sorry, before I move on, to earn rec, you just play Arena Commander matches or races or those types of things. You don't really earn rec in the persistent universe. You can also buy weapons with real money on Voyager Direct on the website, but the problem is there's no way to melt that or exchange that today, which means that if you're not happy with the weapon that you ended up purchasing, you're kind of just stuck with it, which kind of sucks. Now, they're going to introduce a point, and the way they're going to redeem or remedy this is if they're in the actual universe, you're going to be able to go in and exchange it for credits to buy other weapons or to sell it to a store, get credits, and then buy something else. But since that's not in place today, I don't really recommend anybody buying anything from Voyager Direct. And then the third way, like you mentioned, is to buy more ships. If you have multiple ships, you can pull weapons off of those ships and put it on whatever. So, for example, if I want to use the Panthers that come from my Saber on my Super Hornet, I can do that. And the last question today is a patron question from Noakes PG. It says, hi STL, love your content. I've read a number of Reddit posts on battlefield upgrade kits for my Vanguard, which would allow me to swap between the variants as I liked, but I can't find info on where to get them. Were they a temporary offer, or is it something they haven't released for sale yet? Thanks in advance. The battlefield upgrade kits were only for sale once, to my knowledge. They may have been on sale during an anniversary sale. But essentially, you're right on what they are. It's just a very limited time thing. It's kind of like how you can't buy the Vanguard right now. Whenever there's a sale that surrounds the Vanguard, those things should probably be for sale. Once the Sentinel and the Harbinger comes up for sale again, or I guess it becomes hangar ready or flight ready, then we'll probably see them up for sale again. They were, I think it was $10 for the Warden kit, $25 for the Sentinel, and $40, I believe, for the Harbinger kit. But you're right, it does just let you swap between the different variants. It's a pretty cool idea, and it's almost like a sanctioned modularity, if you will. But yeah, I mean, they'll be up for sale again. It's only a matter of time. We're getting pretty close to November when they do their anniversary sale. So I would say that's probably your next best chance to hopefully see those being available. So that's going to be it for this episode. As always, please get your questions in. I hope you guys appreciated the content. Let me know if you need anything. Otherwise, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a wonderful day. Take care.